Does anybody really believe the official story being told when it comes to the Charlie Kirk shooting? Well, that's what we're going to look at today as we examine a number of different theories being thrown around, from bulletproof vests and ricochets to the gun and how you would break that gun down, some of the videos out there, and then some of the more outlandish theories, and either disprove them entirely or maybe even give more weight to them. Now, just like with everything out there, people will jump to their side. It's either you believe the entire story, the official story coming out, I should say, or hey, we need to look more and closer at this. This doesn't make sense. And then you have the conspiracies, right? And so those guys will take one thing and they will just run with it. I tend to find, just covering this stuff for a few years, right? Maybe a couple years now, I guess, at this point, and looking at this stuff so intently that the truth is normally somewhere right in the middle. I think you'd be a fool to believe exactly what the media is throwing out there, regardless of who is in charge of the government. We've already seen that a little bit, right? I think this government is more transparent than what we've seen in the past, but if you think they're going to be fully transparent and you're going to know every single detail and, the conversations that Charlie was having about Israel and are they behind it, and there's just a lot to this. We're still talking about JFK decades later. And remember, that was filmed too. Not as clear, of course, but that was also on film, and we still almost don't know the entire thing, right? There's still theories being thrown around about that. So the point is, if you think you're going to get the entire story in our lifetime at least, I highly doubt it. But that doesn't mean you just believe exactly everything that the media says. You have to be critical and you have to think critically when it comes to this. That's my goal, to try to bring light and maybe facts to it, maybe make sense of some of this, or we need to take a step back and say, hey, this makes no sense at all. Of course, I'd love to get your opinion, whatever it might be. Do you believe the official story? Do you not? Do you think the truth lies somewhere in the middle? Maybe you have an opinion about some of the things we're actually going to talk about, some of the videos we're going to look at. I'd love to hear your opinion. Whatever it is, leave that down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So the first thing I want to talk about is the gun, naturally, okay? Because that's what we mainly cover on the channel. And there's confusion about he broke the gun down, and then he put it back together. It ended up in the woods. How did he get it on the roof? He didn't get off the roof with a gun. Let's look at that. Now, this is an actual German World War II K98 Mauser action. Mauser has been around since like 1906, okay? And what happened after World War II is a bunch of these were brought into the United States, and they were so plentiful that people just decided to sporterize them, right? So they'd put modern stocks on them instead of the wooden stock like what you see right here, and then they would rechamber them because the original chambering for this gun is 8mm Mauser. It's a German round, and back then it really wasn't that easy to get. And even today, it's kind of expensive, right? So they would re-barrel them and rechamber them for 30-06, which is a really common hunting American round. Now, if you look at the bolt of the gun itself, you'll notice it's a turn down style. Some of these have more of a 45, some of them have like a straight pull. This one is definitely more of a turn down style. It goes down pretty long if we're just gonna look at that one grainy picture that we have right now. Remember, this info is changing all the time. There's a possibility that I get some of these details wrong. I'm just going off of what we have right now. They're saying it's an older imported Mauser. So if that is the case, then okay, fine. It was rebarreled, 30-06. Somebody put a sporterized, more modern stock on it. You have to drill and tap these guns too, right? These older ones did not come drill and tapped typically. And so that is something that a gunsmith could do in order to attach the scope. Whatever the case is, how did he get it up on the roof? Well, when you look at early footage of him, he got at the school like 8:30. He changed his clothes at some point, then you see him limping. And so the story here is that, oh, well, he had the gun down his pants. Now, keep in mind, this is a lot of gun. I mean, this is a heavy gun too, no matter what it is. And so for it to ride down your pants, I'm kind of short, so I don't even know if I could really pull that off. It'd be sticking way up here. That's kind of a lot. You could pull the bipod off, right? You could pull the scope off, especially if it's like a QD style mount. You could pull the bolt out of this gun very simply, but to break it down quickly. It's not that quick. It's not like a takedown version, right? So some guns out there, Ruger specifically, has kind of made this famous where you can, literally push a button and pull it apart. That's not what this gun is. You got to remove screws from underneath. In that case, that's where the action and the barrel is going to come off as one piece. That's still like 32 inches long. So I was thinking, well, maybe put it in the backpack. Now, unfortunately, he's wearing black on black for obvious reasons, concealment. And it's got to be a big book bag. So either the book bag we're seeing in some of the photos of him walking up the steps is just bigger and we can't make sense of it, or we can't tell how big it is simply because of the angle we're looking at, or because of his black clothes, because it is black on black. It has to be a bigger book bag than what you'll find in a standard book bag in order to fit this action plus the stock. Now he could wrap it in a towel and put other things in there to better conceal it. I don't see a barrel sticking out the top of the book bag or anything like that. That's a possibility. To me, I think it's clear he did not have the gun stashed prior. That was something else I was thinking, but I don't think that's the case. So how he really got it up there, whether it was in his pants leg or it was in his book bag, we know he did get it up there. Now, here's what's interesting is people were talking about, oh, he was able to take it down. But there's no way. When you hear the shot, there's one angle that shows somebody, what looks like somebody running across the roof. We're going to presume that's him. That's very quick, right? In order to undo these screws that quickly, break it down, I don't see it happening. Plus, when we see the gun again, it's fully assembled. So when I was looking at the footage of him jumping off of the roof, I'm like, where's the book bag? I don't see it anywhere. Maybe y'all see it, I don't. What I do see though is what looks like a towel. Now remember, they found a screwdriver on top of the roof where his DNA matched, plus a towel, not this towel, but what looks like a black towel. So if we go with that logic, probably got up on the roof, he had it in a couple of pieces, and he put it together ahead of the shooting. He put it together on top of the roof is the most logical sense I can make out of that. So I'm like, okay, well, we see a towel, but it doesn't look super like rigid, right? It doesn't look like there's a gun. So I'm like, well, does this thing even fit with a standard towel? And it does, right? Why he decides to drop this with his hands at the same time and not just chunk it down. Maybe he thought it would be less conspicuous. I don't know, but it definitely fits. And you can see there's a lot of, hanging parts here. There's the back of the gun. It's not an easy thing, but it can be covered, with a towel, as you can see. So that's the most logical thing I can tell you when it comes to this. I think he put it together on the roof. He brought it down in that towel. He jumped off the roof. He ditched it in the woods, fully assembled. Now, really quick, when we were talking about the picture in the stairwell, there's an AI-generated picture of this guy going around. And they're like, oh, look at his facial features. There's no way this matches up. This isn't our guy. This is a decoy. It's an AI-generated image. I know this stuff is like, it's getting really good, really fast, kind of really scary, to be honest with you. But when you look at his shirt, it does not match at all. There's always discrepancies, at least right now, in AI. Can be very convincing. That's an AI generated image, just so you know. Now the other thing is hand signals, okay? I'm gonna cover this briefly because people are like, oh my gosh, Charlie's team was in on it. They were giving hand signals to the shooter. These guys were super close to Charlie, and I'm not saying people can't turn on you. I've had this happen to me. I mean, this is like the worst betrayal if that were true. What I see is a guy adjusting maybe an earpiece, fixing his hat, touching your nose, baseball signals. I mean, I don't believe this for a second. I don't think somebody at 150 yards or 140 yards or whatever it was, needs some kind of hand signals, right? Charlie was pretty much going to be planted in that seat for the entirety of this event. These guys were close to him. You can see them with him, a lot of them anyways, very early on. These are the kinds of things that people just kind of look for, right? I bet you if you go around that crowd and you look at people, there's plenty of people that are, adjusting their hat or doing something that could look like a hand signal. I highly doubt this. The other one that people like to point to is that, oh, Charlie was wearing body armor. It's clear from the shirt that he was wearing, unless he's wearing the thinnest body armor known to man, there is no body armor. He's wearing a microphone over here, okay? And when he gets hit, I'm not going to show these images, of course, but when he gets hit, that's more than a ricochet. I mean, first of all, if the body armor was that thin, it's not going to stop a rifle round anyways. You will see ricochet and fragments off of heavy plated, level 3, level 4 armor specifically when a rifle round hits it. That's not what we saw here. We saw a clear entrance wound, which was devastating, and people are like, oh, well, his shirt moved. Well, first of all, you have a round that's moving at minimum 2,400 feet per second, and that's for heavier loads, up to, closer to 2,900 feet per second. So either that's the bullet coming across in that instant that's moving his shirt, or I believe that from that energy, right, you have the temporal cavity, permanent wound cavity, you have a lot of displacement of energy in that moment once that bullet stops. And 150 yards is not a lot for it to lose momentum. And so once it hits Charlie, that energy is going to go somewhere, right? And so I think that's probably likely what we're seeing in that moment when his shirt moves. It didn't hit him there and then ricochet up. Others think that there's no coincidence the question being asked, the rise of trans shooters. And so with the connections that we now know this shooter had with his, live-in boyfriend, that raises clear signs. But we've seen a rise in this kind of activity from these people, right? I don't know. It's almost like you've never watched a Charlie Kirk debate. If you know, he covers a wide range of topics. And almost always, he's going to bring people that disagree to the front of the line. So you're going to get questions that kind of push him on things that he believes in and that others don't. So is this mere coincidence? I believe it is. You can see how startled the guy asking the question, by the way, they've already, talked to him and all that kind of stuff. You can see how startled he is in that moment whenever it happens. And so, these things are going to come up in a Charlie Kirk debate. The other one I saw was, look at the guy in the crowd when you're looking at Charlie from, his, left side, essentially, the side he gets hit on, and it looks like the guy is pulling a gun and he shoots him. Well, we have other camera angles that show from the other side that there was clearly no entrance wound on the other side of him. It was on his left side. There's other theories. When you look at from his right side, Charlie's right side, and you're looking at this one guy right here, and it looks like he has like a pocket or a palm type of gun, and he's the one that took the shot. Well, I'm sorry, but if it's a palm type of gun or some type of hidden gun, if you will, really small, very short barrel length, they do make guns like this, right? For ultra concealment, they are for extremely close distances. Whenever you get outside of 5 yards with some of these guns, they become wildly inaccurate. There is no way. Most of those guns are going to be chambered in something super light, not to say they won't be effective, but with that type of wound, that type of injury, and that type of loss that he had instantly like that, I don't believe it. The other one is, Trump had something to do with it. Now, this is what I've been talking about for days, right? Whatever they can do to demonize, they will try. Now remember that, Charlie Kirk literally was super close to Trump. Pride when he got reelected. He made a huge impact. He was one of the big reasons that Trump, got a lot of support, especially from younger people. There's the whole thing with Israel, right? Israel was behind it. And that side of it, there's people that are more intimate in the details. They know more about what's going on. They knew more or know more of the internal conversations that Charlie was having and some of the struggles that he was having and stuff, right? And some of the questions that he was asking. That stuff, I'll be honest with you, I don't know that much. I wasn't close to Charlie like that. So I can't even speak on that. And to be totally honest with you, George Zinn, right? He's just a troublemaker. He's been arrested a bunch of times, right? And, involving himself in political interference, right? To get his name out there. He says, I'm the guy that shot him, to potentially give the actual shooter time to get away. This guy's a sicko, right? The things that he was charged with. I think recently he was charged with some pretty heinous things, right, involving kids. So I put no stock into this guy whatsoever. Could he have had something to do with it? Yeah, for sure. but he's a freaking, loser, to be totally honest with you. The hand signals, does it look weird? Yes, it does. It absolutely does, right? Moments before this happens doesn't mean they were working with the shooter. As a matter of fact, we've seen that all the people that were close to Charlie, that we know of, really loved him. They supported his message. Can you get people in there that potentially start disagreeing with you? For sure, but I don't think this is the case. Did he take the gun down? Did he disassemble it before he got up there? How does it fit in the book bag? It seems impossible. All we know for certain is that somebody that was radicalized by an extreme left-wing ideology took the life of a father, but he started an absolute movement unlike anything that we have ever seen. He also helped expose people for their hearts and who they truly are. And like I've said before, you can kill the man, but you did nothing but take his message and push it on 1,000 times over. But as a Christ believer, we know that Charlie is actually still alive and better than ever. So there you go. There's my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.